There are moments in life when the human heart, tired of chasing goals, desires, and ambitions, turns inward in silence and asks, "Is there another way?" In that moment, the answer does not come in words, but in whispers, in gentle breezes, in serene waves that touch the shore of the spirit. This is the call of the Tao. Lao Tzu, the old master, more than 2 millennia ago, offered the world a treasure of simple and profound words, the Tao Te Ching. It is not a book to memorize, but a companion for life. Its short phrases hold oceans of meaning, and its verses whisper to the modern soul what the ancestral heart has always known. Wisdom lies in returning to the natural, to simplicity, to fertile emptiness. But what is the Tao? Lao Tzu warned, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. It is the nameless origin, the source of all things, the invisible current that guides the growth of trees, the movement of the stars, the calm of lakes, and the cycle of seasons. The Tao does not force, does not compete, does not impose. It simply is, and everything that flows with it finds harmony. In daily life, amid horns, commitments, deadlines, and anxieties, we forget this serene flow. We try to dominate time, control outcomes, accumulate what we cannot carry. And in this effort, we drift away from the Tao. We feel tired, restless, permanently dissatisfied. Why does this happen? Because we stop being like water, soft and patient, adaptable and persistent. The invitation of this teaching is simple yet profound, to bring the Tao back into your daily life, not through dogmas or rituals, but through observation, listening, and gentle actions and speech. It is possible to live in the world without being crushed by it, to lead without dominating, to act without forcing, to possess without attachment. Modern life seems complex, but the Tao teaches us, true strength lies in simplicity. Just like the bamboo that bends with the wind and remains standing after the storm, we too can learn flexibility and resilience. Throughout this journey, we will walk together through 6 chapters that unfold the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching into practical daily applications. We will look to nature as our first teacher, learn to act without effort, cultivate inner emptiness, use softness as strength, let go of what we cannot hold, and finally, live harmoniously in society without losing ourselves. Each chapter will not be a final point, but an open door for you to observe, feel, and transform how you relate to yourself, others, and the world. Remember, it is not about accumulating knowledge, but returning to essence. The Tao is not found in books, but in calm breathing, a kind gaze, a simple gesture, a comfortable silence. As I finish this introduction, I ask you, are you ready to walk with softness, confidence, and humility? If so, take a deep breath, release your tensions, and allow yourself to follow the flow. The Tao does not demand haste, only presence. Come, the path has already begun. In every sunrise, in every rustling leaf, in the dance of the clouds and the silence of the night, the Tao reveals itself without speaking a single word. To understand the Tao is not to conquer it, but to recognize its presence in the rhythms and patterns of nature, and to align our own life with these flows. The sages of old did not seek to alter the river's course. They sat by its banks, observed its gentle persistence, and learned. The Tao is not an abstract concept. It is visible in the way the rain falls without pride, the way the mountain stands without arrogance, the way the wind moves without resistance. These are not poetic metaphors. They are invitations for us to remember that nature is our first and most patient teacher. In modern times, we are surrounded by metal, glass, and noise, and forget the wisdom embedded in the soil, the breeze, and the quiet rustle of trees. Yet, even now, the Tao waits for us. To return to nature is not to abandon life's responsibilities, but to infuse them with grace and balance. Sit by a river, and you will see the essence of non-resistance. The water does not push against rocks in anger. It flows around them softly, over centuries, shaping them without force. In our daily struggles, how often do we exhaust ourselves by resisting what is? The Tao invites us to respond with flexibility rather than tension. Look at the seasons. Spring brings new life without effort. Summer flourishes without comparison. Autumn releases without regret, and winter rests without complaint. Life has its cycles. Understanding them allows us to move with them instead of against them, to know when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent, is to live in harmony with this wisdom. One of the core teachings of the Tao is Wu Wei, effortless action. Nature never forces, yet everything is accomplished. The bamboo bends and does not break. The roots of ancient trees seek nourishment patiently and quietly. In your daily life, ask yourself, am I forcing the river, or am I learning to float? When you meet obstacles, can you adapt and move around them instead of exhausting yourself in conflict? Can you listen more than you speak, observe more than you react? Spend time each day observing something natural, a flower, the sky, or even the rain. Watch without commentary and simply absorb its presence. Walk slowly and mindfully, feeling the ground beneath your feet. Breathe deeply and notice how your breath mirrors the rhythms of the world. Inhalation like spring, exhalation like autumn. Let go of the need to control outcomes and trust that life unfolds in perfect timing. Nature teaches not only movement, but stillness. The mountain does not hurry. The lake reflects only when its surface is calm. In stillness, clarity arises. In your day, find moments of silence, not to escape, but to witness. Sit in silence for a few minutes each morning. Allow thoughts to come and go like passing clouds. As you practice this, notice how wisdom and insight arise from emptiness, not from mental clutter. As you step into this first chapter of Taoist practice, ask yourself, can you allow yourself to be more like water, more like the mountain, more like the wind? The world will continue its noise and chaos, but you can choose to respond with gentleness and patience. In returning to nature, you return to yourself. The Tao is not elsewhere. It is in the rustle of leaves, the pulse of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Observe, breathe, flow. The journey has only just begun. Imagine a world where action arises from stillness, where decisions are made with clarity and trust, and where outcomes unfold naturally without forcing or struggle. This is the world of Wu Wei, the principle of effortless action at the heart of Taoist wisdom. Wu Wei does not mean inaction or laziness. It means acting in alignment with the natural flow of life, rather than against it. It is the difference between forcing a door open and gently turning the handle. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu teaches, the master acts without doing and everything gets done. In practical terms, Wu Wei is choosing the path of least resistance, trusting timing, and allowing events to unfold without constant interference. It is the art of knowing when to act and when to let things be. The modern world praises those who push, force, and dominate, but the Tao shows us that control is often an illusion. Water shapes stone not by force, but through gentle persistence. Birds migrate, flowers bloom, and rivers carve valleys, all without effort or tension. In your daily life, notice where you are forcing outcomes. Are you clenching tightly to results? Are you attempting to control what is beyond your power? Wu Wei invites you to loosen your grip, to trust the natural unfolding of events. Taoist stories often use parables to illustrate this principle. Consider the story of the farmer whose horse ran away. The neighbors said, "Such bad luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe." Days later, the horse returned with 3 wild horses. The neighbors said, "What good fortune." The farmer responded, "Maybe." Soon after, the farmer's son broke his leg while trying to ride one of the wild horses. The neighbors again expressed pity, and the farmer simply said, "Maybe." Later, soldiers came to the village to recruit young men for war but spared the farmer's son because of his injury. The farmer's serenity was born from his trust in the flow of life, without judgment or resistance. Practicing Wu Wei in daily life. Pause before action. Before reacting, take a breath. Observe if the situation truly requires intervention or if it can resolve naturally. Release rigid expectations. Be open to multiple outcomes instead of clinging to a single result. Embrace patience. Allow events to unfold in their own time, without rushing or forcing. Simplify decisions. Often, the simplest course of action is the most aligned. Trust intuition. Wu Wei flows from quiet confidence, not over-analysis. When you stop forcing outcomes, you create space for grace. Opportunities appear, solutions arise, and life seems to happen with greater ease. Wu Wei is not passivity, but intelligent responsiveness. In relationships, Wu Wei manifests as listening deeply rather than dominating conversations. In work, it appears as doing what is needed with care and focus, without obsession or overwork. In personal growth, it means releasing self-criticism and allowing yourself to evolve naturally. Set aside moments each day to sit quietly. Breathe and ask, where am I forcing? Where can I let go? In those moments, you may find that the answer is not to do more, but to do less, and with greater presence. Remember, the universe has its rhythms. The tide rises and falls without our command. The sun rises without being pushed. Birds do not stress over flight. They simply spread their wings. As you continue this journey, ask yourself, can you act with trust rather than tension? Can you respond to life rather than control it? The Tao smiles upon those who live with patience and grace. Breathe. Wait. Act only when the moment is clear. This is the way of Wu Wei. The Tao teaches that the vessel is useful because of its emptiness. In the spaces where nothing exists, possibility is born. Humility and emptiness are not voids of weakness, but powerful conditions that allow the new to arise. In our busy modern lives, we are taught to fill every moment, every silence, every space, with information, noise, and activity. But the Tao invites us to create emptiness, to make room for clarity, creativity, and renewal. The empty bowl can receive nourishment. The silent mind can hear subtle truths. The uncluttered heart can welcome peace. Nature reveals this wisdom. The spaces between tree branches let in sunlight. The pauses in music give meaning to the notes. The sky's vast openness allows the flight of birds. Humility is often misunderstood as weakness or self-deprecation. In Taoism, humility is the recognition of our smallness in the vast web of existence. The humble person is strong because they do not need to prove themselves. They are open, receptive, and willing to learn. Lao Tzu writes, all streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. When you are humble, you attract wisdom, support, and guidance. People are drawn to those who do not boast but listen, who do not impose but invite. Words are useful, but silence often carries greater depth. In a conversation, notice how silence creates space for reflection. In conflict, silence can dissolve tension. In solitude, silence allows self-discovery. Practice pausing before speaking. Observe the silence between breaths. Learn to listen without planning your response. In these small moments, the Tao whispers, if your mind and heart are crowded with assumptions, judgments, and clutter, how can new ideas, insights, or peace find a place? Declutter your mind as you would a room, gently, intentionally. Spend time in quiet reflection each day. Write down worries and release them onto paper. Remove distractions from your environment. Open to not knowing. Be curious rather than certain. Pride builds walls. Humility opens doors. The need to be right, to control, or to impress creates barriers to wisdom. The Tao encourages softness, gentleness, and quiet confidence. When you feel the urge to correct or argue, pause. Ask, is this my ego seeking recognition, or does this serve harmony? Often, silence and acceptance serve better than correction. A student asked his master, teach me everything you know. The master poured tea into the student's cup until it overflowed. The student cried out, it is full. The master smiled, exactly. How can I fill your cup if it is already full? We must empty ourselves of arrogance and assumptions before true learning can enter. As you move forward, ask yourself, can you cultivate emptiness and humility in daily life? Can you leave space in your mind for wonder, in your heart for compassion, and in your actions for grace? Remember, the empty vessel holds the most potential. The low and humble ground receives all waters. The silent night births the dawn. Breathe, soften, empty, and allow the new to come. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. This is the paradox of softness. The gentle is stronger than the rigid. The yielding overcomes the forceful. Water adapts to every shape, yet slowly carves mountains. It moves around obstacles without resistance, and with time, it transforms landscapes. The Tao teaches that softness does not mean weakness. It is an expression of resilience and quiet power. In your life, consider, are you meeting challenges with rigid force or with flexible adaptability? Like water, you can flow around obstacles, absorb impacts, and continue forward without exhaustion. Forceful confrontation often breeds more resistance. Softness dissolves tension. In conflict, instead of reacting with anger or harsh words, respond with patience and understanding. Listen deeply. Allow space for emotions to settle. A soft word calms more than a loud argument. A gentle gesture disarms more than a sharp rebuke. This is not passivity. It is active compassion. A tree that does not bend in the storm will break. The bamboo survives the strongest winds by yielding and then returning upright. Flexibility is strength in disguise. In your work and relationships, practice flexibility. Be willing to adjust plans when circumstances change. Remain open to other viewpoints without defensiveness. Allow room for mistakes and growth. Approach challenges with curiosity rather than frustration. The practice of softness. Breathe slowly when faced with tension. Soften your body and release tightness. Respond rather than react. Pause before answering. Choosing gentle words. Practice forgiveness. Holding on to anger hardens the heart. Letting go softens and frees you. Smile often. A soft smile can melt even the coldest resistance. True leadership is not domination but guidance. A soft leader listens, supports, and inspires. People follow willingly when they feel heard and valued. Lead with empathy. Be firm in purpose but gentle in approach. Celebrate others' strengths and support their challenges without judgment. In ancient times, a mighty warrior sought advice from a sage on how to be invincible. The sage gave him a simple bowl of water and said, "Strike it." The warrior's sword splashed water everywhere but left no mark. The sage smiled. Learn to be like water. Strong blades break, but water remains. As you reflect on softness, ask yourself, can you approach your challenges with grace rather than aggression? Can you let go of rigid control and trust the gentle flow? Softness is not surrender, it is wisdom in action. The river reaches the sea not by force, but by following its natural path. Breathe, yield, flow. In softness, you will find enduring strength. The Tao teaches us that all things are transient. What we cling to today will eventually slip through our fingers like water. The secret of peace lies in detachment, not indifference, but the wisdom of knowing that nothing truly belongs to us. We live in a world obsessed with ownership, of things, people, outcomes, and identities. But what do we truly possess? The house ages, the body changes, relationships evolve, and circumstances shift. Possessiveness leads to fear, anxiety, and suffering, for we struggle to hold on to what life is constantly changing. The Tao reminds us, everything is on loan. We are caretakers of moments, not masters of permanence. When we release the tight grip on control and possession, we discover freedom. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means trusting the natural ebb and flow. The more we release, the more space we create for new opportunities, insights, and peace. Let go of expectations and open to surprise. Release grudges and make room for forgiveness. Detach from rigid plans and embrace spontaneity. Detachment in daily life. In relationships, love without clinging. Allow others to be who they are, not who you wish them to be. At work, do your best, but release attachment to outcomes. Success or failure are moments, not definitions. In self-image, you are not your titles, possessions, or roles. Your essence remains beyond labels. The Tao favors simplicity. A cluttered life leads to a cluttered mind. By releasing excess, we make space for presence and clarity. Simplify your surroundings. Release what no longer serves you. Keep only what brings joy and purpose. A monk carried a beautiful bowl, his only possession. One day the bowl slipped from his hands and shattered. The monk smiled and said, "Perfect." He understood that nothing is permanent, and peace comes from acceptance. Attachment stems from fear. Detachment stems from trust. Trust that life knows what it's doing, that what departs makes space for what arrives, and that nothing real can ever be lost. As you contemplate detachment, ask yourself, what am I holding on to that weighs me down? Can I release it with grace? Let go. Breathe. Trust. In releasing, you will discover the lightness of being and the joy of freedom. In the quiet heart of Taoism lies a question. How do we live in harmony with the world, even as it rushes around us with noise, speed, and complexity? The answer is found not in isolation, but in presence, carrying the simplicity of the Tao into every interaction, every task, and every moment. The world is busy. Deadlines, obligations, and pressures pull us in many directions. But the Tao teaches that even in the center of activity, one can remain still. The calm center of the wheel allows the spokes to turn. Start each day with a moment of quiet. In the midst of tasks, pause and return to your breath. Practice responding rather than reacting. When you move from this place of centeredness, you influence the world not by force, but by presence. The Tao speaks of leading without controlling, guiding without imposing. The best leaders are those who make themselves invisible, allowing others to shine. Inspire by example. Listen more than you speak. Offer guidance gently and let others discover their own paths. True influence arises from humility and trust, not from authority or force. In conversations, practice simplicity and clarity. Avoid unnecessary words and complicated explanations. Be honest and kind. Speak only when it adds value. Listen deeply and without interruption. Leave space for silence. Often it says more than words. Living the Tao in family and work. At home. Create a space of calm and acceptance. Allow each person to be themselves without judgment. At work. Do your duties with care but without attachment. Celebrate success quietly and meet challenges with patience. In community. Contribute without seeking recognition. Help without expectation. Living simply does not mean neglecting responsibilities. It means doing what needs to be done with clarity and focus, without excess. Prioritize what truly matters. Let go of what is unnecessary. Be present in each task, whether large or small. A sage was asked how he led his village. He replied, "I listen more than I speak. I act without seeking credit. I trust the wisdom of those around me. And when things go well, I step back and let others be celebrated." As you bring the Tao into your life and society, ask yourself, can I be a quiet presence in a noisy world? Can I lead through humility, speak through kindness, and live with simplicity? Remember, you do not have to change the world. You only need to bring calm, clarity, and compassion into each moment. Breathe, be present, serve with joy. In doing so, you live the Tao in the world around you. As we come to the end of this journey, the wisdom of the Tao invites us not to stop, but to return. Return to presence, to simplicity, to the quiet flow of life that has always been beneath the surface. The Tao does not call for grand gestures or complex rituals. It whispers through stillness, through the soft rustle of leaves, through the breath that moves effortlessly in and out. In the noise of the world, the Tao offers silence. In the rush of life, it offers calm. We have explored nature as a teacher, Wu Wei as the art of effortless action, humility and emptiness as spaces for growth, softness as enduring strength, detachment as freedom, and simplicity as the key to living harmoniously in a complex world. Each of these teachings is not a separate lesson, but part of a circle, a gentle return to what is most natural and true. Living the Tao daily. Wake with gratitude and move slowly. Observe without judgment. Speak with kindness and purpose. Act without force, trusting the flow. Release attachments and rest in simplicity. The power of simplicity lies not in doing less for the sake of minimalism, but in allowing space for what truly matters. It is in the uncluttered moment that clarity arises. In the gentle word, conflict dissolves. In the quiet presence, peace is found. A disciple once asked his master, "Where will I find enlightenment?" The master pointed to the garden and said, "There." The disciple looked confused and asked, "In the flowers and stones?" The master smiled. "In the act of tending to them with care. The Tao is not distant. It is here, in this moment, waiting for you to notice. Now that you have received this wisdom, I ask you, how will you carry the Tao into your daily life? In which small actions will you embody softness, humility, and trust? Let this reflection sit quietly in your heart. Breathe, pause, flow. If these teachings have spoken to you, I warmly invite you to subscribe and continue walking this path with me. Together we will explore deeper layers of simplicity, harmony, and wisdom. The path does not end here. It begins anew with every breath. Thank you for walking this journey.